My name is Emily, and I am 52 years old. I saw it in the sauna at a mountain resort in the Bavarian Alps. He was 67 years old, but he looked very impressive. My husband had been struggling with intimate issues for 9 years, but here everything was completely different. I couldn't believe my eyes. My name is Emily, I am 52, and I worked as a hike organizer for a mountain club when I fell in love with a 67-year-old former climber. It was forbidden love. If you want to hear the story, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Where are you listening to this confession right now? On your way to work, doing chores around the house, or out on a walk? Let me know in the comments. I will be happy to greet you personally. I will never forget that day. It happened 4 months ago at a resort in the Garmisch-Partenkirchen area. I am talking about Bill. He came out of the sauna wrapped only in a small towel. In Germany, it is normal to be naked in saunas, but I was not ready for this. At 67, he was in great shape, and I noticed he was very large for his age. I gasped for air. My husband Michael had been suffering from premature issues for 9 years. The difference was enormous. I turned away sharply, my heart pounding. I couldn't sleep that night. His image was stuck in my eyes. Let me tell you everything from the beginning. I own a small cafe in Munich. During the week, I work at the cafe, and on weekends, I take groups into the mountains. I am the leader of a nature lovers club called Peak Club. I have been married for 16 years. My husband's name is Michael. He is 49, and he works as a department head at a medium company. We have no children. It didn't happen because of my husband. For the first 7 years, everything was fine. But 9 years ago, things started to change. He became too quick. First, I thought it was fatigue. He said work was hard. I believed it would pass. But it only got worse. 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes. For the last 9 years, our intimacy lasted less than a minute. I suggested seeing a doctor. He refused. He said, "It's better this way. Finish fast and go to sleep." I asked what he meant. He said, "I am just doing my marital duty." Those words cut like a knife. Duty. To my husband, I was just an obligation. He said, "What more do you need at 52?" I couldn't say anything else. For 9 years, I never found satisfaction. The intimacy was there, but it ended before it began. My husband would turn away and fall asleep immediately. I would go to the bathroom and cry, quietly so he wouldn't hear. I was so lonely. I thought, is this how a woman at 52 has to live? Every time I looked in the mirror, I sighed. More wrinkles, less firmness. It felt like my life as a woman was over. My husband didn't care. He only focused on work, often staying late for corporate parties. He would come home late, wash up, and go straight to bed. We barely talked. I didn't know what I was living for, so I started going to the mountains. That was 4 years ago. I went alone to the local hills. It was hard, but I liked it. When I reached the top, I felt like I had achieved something. I started going often, every weekend. I joined a hiking club, and within a year, I became a group leader. I loved leading people. Every week, we conquered new peaks, the Bavarian Alps, the Austrian hills. I ran the cafe on weekdays and the mountains on weekends. My husband didn't care. When I said I was going on a hike, he just nodded. He was indifferent. I was lonely, but in the mountains, I felt happy. 4 months ago, a new member joined us, Bill. He said he was 67. I was worried. Isn't that too old for hiking? But he said he was a former professional climber who had been to the Himalayas. Our first hike was on local rocks. Bill arrived on time. He was tall, about 5'10". Despite being 67, he looked about 50. Tanned face, healthy look, fit body. I doubted he was really that old. We started climbing. Bill went first. He was fast. The other participants, who were in their 40s and 50s, could not keep up. 67-year-old Bill was the fastest. It was amazing. When we reached the top, he wasn't even out of breath. He was magnificent. He asked, "Emily, are you the leader?" I said yes. Bill smiled and said, "You are young, but you do a great job." I was pleased. I hadn't heard a compliment in a long time. We talked a bit on the way down. He had been a climber for over 30 years. He summited Everest twice. Incredible. He has been retired for 10 years. His wife died 5 years ago. He has been living alone since then. I asked if he was lonely. Bill smiled and said, "Yes, but when I go to the mountains, it gets easier." I nodded. I understood him like no one else. From that day on, Bill came on every hike. He never missed one. He always walked in front. At 67, he was faster than everyone. The club members admired him. So did I. We grew closer. During the hikes, we talked a lot. Bill was quiet, but he knew how to listen. I felt calm with him, calmer than with my husband. 2 months passed. We planned a 2-day hike in the mountains with an overnight stay. It was early October. The autumn in the Alps was beautiful. The leaves were golden. We started climbing. Bill walked in front as usual. I stayed close behind. The others lagged far behind. Bill and I walked ahead and talked. It was easy. Around 4 in the afternoon, we reached the resort and checked into our rooms. Men and women separately. We had dinner together. We drank some local wine. The mood was great. Around 8 in the evening, the others went to take a shower. I went to the women's shower as well. I washed up and returned to the room. Bill hadn't showered yet. He was sitting in the hall reading a book. A little later, he stood up and said he was going to wash up. I nodded. About 10 minutes later, I reached into my backpack. My phone charger was missing. I must have left it on the bench near the showers. I stood up and said I would go get it. I walked down the hall to the shower area. There was a common changing room. I saw the charger lying on the bench. I bent down to pick it up, and at that moment, the door opened. The door to the men's shower. Bill walked out. He was only wearing a towel around his waist. I looked up and saw it. He was 67 years old, but he was huge. Even through the towel, the outline was visible. I gasped. My husband had been struggling for 9 years, and here was something completely different. Bill saw me too. He was surprised, embarrassed, and quickly turned away. I mumbled an apology. I said I just came for my charger. I grabbed it and ran back to the room. The others were already asleep, but I could not close my eyes. I lay there thinking. That image kept spinning in my head. Bill, 67 years old, so powerful. My husband, 1 minute, and it's over. I was comparing them. My face was burning. What am I thinking? He is 67, an elderly man, a member of my club. But I could not stop. I did not sleep that night. Morning came. I got up exhausted. The others were already awake. I washed my face and looked in the mirror. There were dark circles under my eyes. I went outside. Bill was already there, sitting on a bench. Our eyes met. My heart jumped. Bill spoke first. He asked if I slept well. I nodded, but my voice was shaking. Bill looked uncomfortable too. Because of what happened the evening before, we had breakfast together. The conversation was awkward. Bill and I tried not to look at each other. After eating, we packed our things. It was time to descend. Bill walked in front as usual, but I stayed behind with the other participants. I did not follow him. It was too awkward. The descent took about 2 hours. We reached the parking lot. Bill said goodbye to everyone and told them to get home safe. He didn't say anything special to me, just nodded. I nodded back. I went home. My husband wasn't there. He had gone to a spa with friends. He sent a text. I sat alone in the apartment. My thoughts went back to the previous night. Bill, 67 years old, the towel and what was under it. I shook my head. I need to stop thinking about this. I took a shower, but even under the water, I kept thinking about it. That evening, my husband came home. He smelled of alcohol. I set the table. He said he was full. I ate alone. He lay on the couch watching TV. Around 10, he went to the bedroom. I followed. He looked at me, came over, and hugged me. It had been a long time. We started. Less than 1 minute later, he was done. He turned to the wall and immediately started snoring. I lay there alone. I wanted to cry. This had been going on for 9 years. Intimacy lasting less than a minute. No pleasure at all. And then I thought of Bill. He was 67. What I had seen the day before. It was nothing like my husband. I compared my 49-year-old husband to 67-year-old Bill. I could not stop. Another sleepless night. A week passed. I thought about Bill all week. When I worked at the cafe, when I brewed coffee. Before bed, I could not get him out of my head. Saturday came, the day of the hike. We were going to a local forest park with steep hills. I was nervous. How would I look at Bill? Would it be awkward? I arrived at the meeting point. The group was already there. Bill was there too. He said hello, quietly as always. I answered. I tried to act natural, even though it was awkward. We started walking, Bill in front, me behind him. The others fell behind. We were alone again at the front of the group. At first we were silent. Then Bill spoke. He apologized for the previous week. He said he was sorry for putting me in an awkward position. I shook my head. I said it was my fault. I appeared suddenly. I apologized too. Bill seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "Well then, that's good." We continued. Slowly, the conversation started. About the weather, about the yellow leaves. The tension was gone. We reached the top and looked at the view. It was beautiful. The city lay below us. Bill stood next to me. We looked into the distance together. He said, "In the mountains, the soul is calm. All worldly worries disappear." I nodded and said it was the same for me. "In the mountains, I don't think about my husband." Bill looked at me and asked, "What is your husband like?" I hesitated. It was hard to answer. I just said he was a busy man who worked a lot. Bill nodded and didn't ask more, but I think he understood everything from my face. 3 months passed. December came, winter arrived. One day, Bill suggested we do a winter hike to Mount Elbert with an overnight stay. I agreed. I posted the announcement. 4 people signed up, me, Bill, and 2 others. It was the 3rd Saturday of December. We drove to the mountains. The drive took 4 hours. There was snow on the ground. It was incredibly beautiful. Bill walked in front. At 67, he walked through the snow more confidently than the younger ones. I admired him. By 3 in the afternoon, we reached the mountain hut. We checked into our rooms. After dinner, the other participants went to sleep. Bill and I stayed alone. We poured some schnapps and sat quietly, looking out the window. Snow was falling. It was mesmerizing. Bill said, "Winter in the mountains is the most beautiful time." I nodded in agreement. Bill looked at me and said my name. "Emily," I answered. He continued, "We have been hiking together for 3 months now, every week. I really enjoy it. It is all thanks to you." I disagreed. I said it was thanks to him and that I enjoyed it too. Bill smiled a warm smile. My heart skipped a beat. It was after 10. I stood up and said it was time to sleep. Bill stood up too. We went to our rooms. I lay down quietly. Sleep would not come. I thought about Bill. I remembered that incident in the shower 3 months ago. My face flushed, 67 years old, large, and my husband. I was comparing again. I could not stop. I fell asleep late. When I opened my eyes, the snow had stopped. The sky was clear. I got up, washed my face, and went outside. Bill was sitting on a bench, looking at the snowy peaks. I walked over and said hello. Bill smiled and asked how I slept. I nodded, even though I barely slept because I was thinking about him. I sat down next to him. We looked at the mountains. Bill said, "Winter is the best time here, quiet and peaceful." I nodded. A comfortable silence fell between us. After breakfast, we packed our things and started the descent. Bill in front, me behind him. The others fell behind. We walked along the snowy trail together. Bill sometimes looked back to check if I was keeping up. I said I was fine. He smiled. He said, "You have excellent endurance, Emily." I felt pleased. After 2 hours, we took a break. We sat on a log and drank tea from a thermos. Bill said, "In these 3 months, I have stopped feeling lonely." My heart beat faster. I said that I also felt happy with him. Bill looked at me for a long time. Our eyes met. My pulse quickened. He seemed nervous too. I looked away, stood up, and said it was time to go. He stood up. We continued. I got home around 5 in the evening. My husband was home, sitting on the couch watching TV. I said, "Hello." He nodded. He didn't even ask how the hike went. He didn't care. I unpacked, took a shower, and made dinner, soup and a main course. I called my husband to eat. We ate in silence. He looked at his phone. I washed the dishes and went to the living room. My husband was still watching TV. I sat next to him. He glanced at me as if to say, "What do you want?" I said nothing. I just wanted to sit nearby. He sighed and stared back at the screen. At 10, he went to bed. I followed. He lay down, looked in my direction, and moved closer. Less than a minute later, he was done. He turned away and fell asleep. I lay there and cried. Quietly, 9 years of the same thing. Never once was it good. And then I thought of Bill. His warm look on the trail that day, and what I had seen 3 months ago. 67 years old, large. My husband was 49 with problems. I was sure that with Bill, everything would be different. I was comparing. I couldn't help it. My face was burning. I pulled the covers over my head, but sleep would not come. Another week passed. I thought about Bill constantly, at work, at home, in bed with my husband. I felt guilty, but I couldn't help it. Saturday, another hike in the woods near the city. I left the house with happy excitement. I would see Bill. He was already waiting at the meeting point. He greeted me with a smile. My heart fluttered. We started walking. Again, we pulled ahead of the group. We walked together and talked about the weather and the past week. It was easy. At the top, we sat on a bench. The view of the city was beautiful. Bill said my name. Emily. He said, "You have looked sad lately. Has something happened?" I was surprised he noticed. I shook my head and said no, nothing. Bill took my hand. His hand was warm. He said, "If things are hard, tell me. I will listen." A lump rose in my throat. No one had cared about my feelings in a long time. My husband never did that. I said, "My husband." Bill waited. I continued. I told him that for 9 years, I had not found satisfaction, that he had problems, that everything ended in seconds, that he refused to see a doctor and said it was just a duty, that he told me at 52 I didn't need anything, that I was lonely. Tears flowed on their own. Bill put his arm around my shoulder and said warmly, "This is not your fault, Emily. This is his problem. You are a wonderful woman. 52 years old is young. Your husband is a fool." I sobbed into his arms for a long time. When the tears dried, I looked up at Bill. We were very close. My heart was about to jump out of my chest. Bill was trembling too. Our faces moved closer, just a little more. Then I came to my senses. I pulled away sharply and apologized. I stood up. Bill stood up too. He didn't try to stop me. He said, "Let's go down." I nodded. We walked down in silence. It was awkward. But Bill broke the silence first. He asked how I was. I nodded and said I felt better. "Thank you for listening." He smiled and said, "Anytime." At the parking lot, we said goodbye. We agreed to meet in a week. I went home. My husband was not there. Another corporate party or spa. He sent a text. I sat alone, remembering Bill's embrace, his warmth. That moment when we almost kissed. My face was burning. I can't. He is an older man, a club member, but I couldn't stop thinking about him. When my husband came home that evening, smelling of alcohol, he washed up and went to sleep. I stayed in the living room, thinking about Bill. From that day on, everything changed. We went on hikes every week, just the two of us. The others simply could not keep up with us. At 67, Bill was faster than the younger ones. Only I could match his pace. We would go ahead and wait for the others at the top. That was our time. We talked about everything. Bill told me about his youth, how he became a climber at 20, how he traveled the world, the Pamirs, the Andes, the Alps. He got married in his 30s. His wife also loved the mountains. They hiked together and were happy, but she got sick. Cancer at 60. She fought for 3 years. She died 5 years ago. Since then, he has been alone, lonely, but in the mountains, he remembers her, so he continues to hike. My heart ached for him. I told him about myself, about the cafe, about why I started hiking 4 years ago, because of loneliness, because of my husband's indifference. Bill nodded with understanding. We became very close. January came, New Year. The first hike of the year was on local rocks. Saturday morning, I left the house with anticipation. Bill was already waiting at the trailhead. He wished me a happy new year. I wished him the same. We started walking. The group fell behind. We were alone again. Winter forest, trees covered in snow. "Beautiful," Bill said. "The winter forest is the quietest, and there are few people." I agreed. After an hour and a half, we reached the top and sat on a bench. The view of the city was clear. Bill asked, "Emily, what is your wish for the new year?" I thought about it. What do I want? I said, "I want to be happy." Bill looked at me and asked, "Are you unhappy now?" I shook my head and said, "Not now. But for the last 9 years with my husband, yes." Bill took my hand. He said, "You deserve happiness, Emily. You are still young. 52 is your prime." Tears came to my eyes. I asked, "And you, Bill, are you happy?" He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Lately, yes. When I hike with you in the mountains, I am not lonely." My heart began to beat fast. I said that I too am happy with him. We looked at each other for a long time. My heart was racing. Then we heard the voices of the other participants approaching. We pulled our hands apart. After the descent, everyone left the parking lot. Bill and I stayed behind. It was around 1 in the afternoon. Bill asked if I had eaten lunch. I shook my head. He said there was a great Bavarian restaurant nearby. Let's go. I hesitated being alone with him, but I agreed. We went in his car. It was a small, cozy place. We ordered schnitzel, dumplings, and some local schnapps. We drank. Warmth spread through my body. We ate and talked. Bill told me about standing on the summit of Everest. The whole world at your feet. Above the clouds, the feeling of being truly alive. His eyes sparkled like a boy's. At 67, he made me smile. Bill said, "You have a beautiful smile, Emily." I blushed. We drank a little more. My head was buzzing. Bill was flushed too. He told jokes. I laughed sincerely. For the first time in a long time, I hadn't laughed with my husband in years. I was happy in that moment. 2 hours later, we got up to leave. Bill paid and didn't let me contribute. He offered to drive me home. I agreed. We drove in silence. A pleasant silence. I looked at the winter scenery. Bill said, "Today was great." I agreed. It really was great. We pulled up to my house. I thanked him and said I would see him in a week. Bill smiled and said, "Yes, see you in a week." I reached for the door handle. Then Bill took my hand. I froze and turned around. Our eyes met. In the small car, we were very close. My heart was about to burst. His hand was shaking. "Emily," he whispered. I was silent. His face moved closer, just a little more. I came to my senses. I pulled my hand away. "I'm sorry, I have to go." I jumped out of the car. Bill didn't try to stop me. He just watched me go. I ran into the building and stopped. I took a deep breath. What was that? We almost kissed. Bill, a 67-year-old man. I can, but I could not calm down. At home, my husband was lying on the couch. He didn't even ask where I had been. I went to take a shower, but my thoughts were in that car. His hand, his face so close. My face was burning. Cold water did not help. That night, I lay next to my sleeping husband. I thought about Bill, about his hand on the mountaintop, about our laughter in the restaurant, about the moment in the car. I was happy for the first time in 9 years, but also scared. He was 67, a 15-year difference. But I could not stop thinking about him. And again, that image from the shower room. I was sure he was completely different. I compared them. My husband snoring next to me, 49 years old, a complete zero, and Bill, 67 years old, warm, strong. I could not sleep again. Then everything fell apart. Friday evening, my husband came home at 9:30. He sat on the couch looking at his phone. Then he went to the bathroom and left his phone on the couch. A message arrived. A notification popped up. The name was Julie. The text said, "Michael, tonight was magical. Red heart." My heart stopped. Who is Julie? Magical. Heart. I grabbed the phone and tried to unlock it. The password used to be my birthday. It didn't work. He had changed it. The bathroom door opened. I threw the phone back. My husband came out, grabbed the phone, and saw the notification. His face turned to stone. He shoved the phone in his pocket and said he had an urgent call from work. He got dressed and ran out. I was left alone. My world collapsed. Saturday, a hike with an overnight stay in the mountains. I didn't want to go because of what happened the day before, but I decided to go to see Bill. I packed my things. I left early in the morning while my husband, who had come back at 2 in the morning, was still sleeping. I arrived at the resort. Bill was waiting. 2 other participants were there too. Bill immediately noticed my condition. He said, "Something happened." "You look terrible." I nodded and said everything was fine, but it wasn't. We started walking, Bill in front, me behind him. I walked and thought about the message. Magical, the heart. He is cheating on me. Tears choked me. Bill stopped and came over to me. "Emily, are you sure you are okay?" I shook my head. "No." Bill took my hand and said, "Tell me." I started crying. I told him about my husband, about the suspicion of cheating, about the text message from a coworker. Bill's face darkened with anger. He said, "How can he treat you like this?" I cried. He hugged me tightly and said everything would be okay. I calmed down. We continued. That evening at the resort, we had dinner together. I couldn't swallow a bite. Then the other 2 went to sleep. Bill and I stayed to drink cognac. I drank too much. Bill drank too. He said, "Emily, you need to investigate. Find proof." It will help in the divorce. I nodded. Divorce. I had thought about it, but was afraid. Bill took my hand and said, "You deserve happiness. Don't live with a man like that." I cried again. 9 years I have not been happy. He can't do anything in bed and now he is cheating. Bill was surprised. 9 years? I nodded. Bill hugged me. He said, "I am so angry. How dare he? You are perfect, beautiful, young." I cried on his chest. He wiped my tears. Our faces were close. My heart was pounding. He whispered, "Emily, I stopped." Then he said, "I have liked you from the very beginning." My breath caught. I answered, "I have liked you too. From the very beginning." He leaned in. We almost kissed. At that moment, the door opened. One of the hikers came out to use the bathroom. We pulled apart. It was late. We went to our rooms to sleep. The next day, we returned to the city and parted in the parking lot. I drove home. My heart was heavy because of Bill's confession and because of my husband. I pulled up to the house. There was a small red foreign car parked in our spot. Strange. I took the elevator upstairs and opened the door with my key. Silence. In the hallway stood women's red high heel shoes. My heart began to pound. I walked inside and heard sounds from the bedroom. Male and female laughter. The door was slightly open. I approached. My husband was there with a young woman on our bed. They were dressed but lying in each other's arms and kissing. I pushed the door open. They jumped up. The woman was young, about 25, pretty. I screamed, "What are you doing here?" My husband was confused. He jumped up and said, "Sorry, I can explain." I laughed. Explain what? I saw everything. The woman jumped up and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know. Michael said he was divorced." I shook my head and said, "No, he is not divorced." She looked at my husband in shock and ran out of the apartment. The front door slammed. We were alone. My husband said, "This is all because of you. You are a zero as a woman. I have suffered for 9 years. I needed to get satisfaction somewhere. Julie is normal. With her, everything works for me." The words hit me right in the heart. "My fault?" I screamed. "That you finish in 1 second is my fault? I asked you to see a doctor. You refused." "With Julie, I feel like a man," he said. "You are frigid." I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my bag and threw some clothes into it. My husband tried to stop me. "Where are you going?" I didn't answer. I took my phone and charger and walked out. He grabbed my arm. I pulled away. "Don't touch me." I ran out of the house and got in the elevator sobbing. 16 years of marriage were over. I went outside. Where to go? I just walked and cried. I took out my phone and called Bill. He answered immediately. "Hello." I burst into tears into the phone. "Bill, it's Emily. He was scared." "Emily, what happened?" "Why are you crying?" "My husband. He was with a woman at home. I saw it." Bill growled with rage. "Where are you?" "I left home. I am walking down the street. I don't know where to go. Send me your location. I will come now." I sent my coordinates. I stood and waited. People walked by and looked at the crying woman. I didn't care. 15 minutes later, Bill's car pulled up. He jumped out, ran over, and hugged me. I sobbed into his chest. "Everything will be okay. I am here." He put me in the car and said, "Let's go to my place." I nodded. We drove in silence. He held my hand. It was warm. We arrived at his house, a small private house near the mountains. Cozy. In the living room, photos of mountains covered the walls. The Himalayas, Everest. He sat me on the couch, gave me water, and sat next to me. He said, "Tell me." I told him everything. About the shoes, about the bedroom, about my husband's words. "You are a zero. With her, I am a man." Bill hugged me. He said, "I am so angry. How could he?" "It is not your fault, Emily. You are perfect. You are beautiful." I cried. No one had told me I was beautiful in a long time. I looked up at him. We looked at each other, very close. My heart was pounding. "Emily," he said, "I have loved you from the very beginning. It's true." I answered, "And I have loved you from that very day." He touched my face and kissed me, warm and gentle. It was the kiss I had been waiting for 9 years. No, for a lifetime. Passionate, real. He held me, 67 and 52, a 15-year difference. But it didn't matter. We kissed for a long time. Then he pulled away and asked, "Are you okay?" I shouldn't have. I nodded. "I am okay. I wanted this." He kissed my forehead. "You can rest in the guest room." I shook my head. "No, I want to be with you." He froze. "Are you sure?" "Yes." He stood up and held out his hand. I took it. We went to the bedroom. It was clean and cozy. We kissed again. Slowly, we undressed each other. The body of a 67-year-old man, strong, muscular, a former climber. It looked better than my 49-year-old husband's. And I saw what I had seen in the shower 4 months ago. I could not believe it. My husband was nothing compared to him. We lay down. Bill asked, "Is everything okay?" "I will be gentle." I nodded. It was the first time in 9 years. Actually, the first time in my life that it was real. Bill was careful. He asked if it hurt. I said it felt good. Time passed. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, much longer. My husband could not last 1 minute, but Bill, at 67, was incredible. For the first time in my life, I experienced it. A peak of pleasure. We finished together. We lay there breathing heavily. Bill hugged me. He asked, "Was it good? Not painful?" I said it was perfect. The first time in my life. He was surprised. The first time? I told him that with my husband, I had never experienced anything like it. Bill smiled and said it was good for him too. The first time since his wife died. He said, "Stay here. Don't go back to him. Live with me." I hesitated. A 15-year age difference, but he said age is just a number. The most important thing is love. I agreed. I love him. Then he admitted something. He said, "You know that incident in the shower 4 months ago? I did it on purpose. I was in shock." He knew. He said, "I knew you would come for your charger. I came out with just the towel on purpose. I wanted to show myself. I couldn't help it. I liked you so much. I wanted to see your reaction. And when I saw the look in your eyes, I knew I had a chance. I laughed, and I fell in love exactly when I saw you." We kissed again, and we repeated everything again. My husband couldn't do it once properly, but Bill, at 67, was tireless. We started living together. It was the happiest month of my life. We hiked in the mountains, we cooked meals, we loved each other every night. My husband sent text messages saying, "Come back, I'm sorry, let's start over." I ignored him. Bill suggested we get divorced and get married. I agreed. We went to a lawyer. There was enough proof of cheating. A week later, my husband found us. He came to Bill's house and saw me. He said, "So here you are." "With who?" Bill came out. "With my husband," Bill answered for me. My husband was shocked. He said, "With this old man? He must be almost 70. 67, Bill corrected him. My husband laughed. "You left me for an old man? Have you lost your mind?" I calmly answered, "Yes, and he is 1,000 times better than you." My husband turned red. "How is he better?" "With his crumbling bones?" I said, "Bill is perfect. At 67, he can do what you never could, for much longer than 1 minute, and he is much larger than you." My husband turned pale. Bill put his arm around me and said to my husband, "Get out. She is filing for divorce. We have proof of your cheating. Better sign the papers voluntarily." My husband left humiliated. A week later, he signed the documents. I got a divorce and compensation. Bill and I celebrated with a passionate night. A year and a half has passed. I am now 53. Bill is 68. We are officially married. We live in his house at the foot of the Bavarian Alps. Every morning we go on light hikes. My endurance has become excellent. We still make love every night. At 68, he is still tireless. I am happier than ever. 1.5 years with Bill have given me more happiness than 16 years of marriage to Michael. I want to tell you, age is just a number. You can find love at 52 and at 67. A 15-year age difference is not an obstacle. The most important things are sincerity and compatibility. Start going to the mountains. Maybe there you will meet your destiny, just like I met my 67-year-old climber. If you like this story, subscribe to the channel and write in the comments. Do you believe in love with such an age difference? Thank you for listening. Be happy.